Okay, so the reason that you clicked on this video is because you want to know how to write a story properly, or you want to understand the layers to writing stories. So I'm just gonna get straight into it. I have my notes right here. So every story, let alone a good one, should have this basic format, and it's a plot diagram. So basically how a plot diagram works is you start off with your exposition, meaning your start, and then you have your rising action. Okay, what conflict is happening that is leading up to the climax, which is the top. Okay, the rising action is happening, boom, the climax. This is what happens as a result of the rising action. And then you have your falling action. Okay, the conflict is resolved. Now this is leading down, and then you have the resolution, the ending. So every good story follows that format. But no matter what type of story you're trying to write, this will serve as the foundation for it. Which brings me to my first kind of actual point, which is the level of complexity a story has lies within detail, not quantity. And what I mean is, you don't need a lot of stuff to make a good story. You don't need a lot of information to make a story good or complex. Matter of fact, the less things that you have, but the more controlled it is, the better it is. Because when you start adding just a ton of stuff, it's gonna ultimately lead to a plot hole if you don't understand how to actually go about handling this stuff that you've added. And a tip that I give for this is making a simple story. Don't make it complex. Just make it bare bones simple. Ginny wants to go to the store. Ginny asks her mother if she could go to the store. Ginny's mother says she's busy right now and to ask her older brother. Ginny goes to ask her older brother. Ginny's older brother says yes. Ginny goes to the store with her other brother. Ginny is happy. That's it. It doesn't have to be anything complex, sophisticated at all. It's a simple story. Now, even with that, there's implied details such as Ginny is a child, so she can't go to the store alone. And also the store is probably far, so she needs some form of transportation to get there. My main point is, don't just add information to a story for the sake of adding it. If you add something to a story, be prepared to elaborate on it. Be prepared for that information to come back into the story at some point, and also be prepared for that information to actually play a role in the story, not to just be there, like I said. Good? Okay, point number 3, stemming from my last point, how deep a story is depends on how much you want to elaborate on things, both indirectly, and directly. And I'm going to go back to my analogy with the story with Ginny, right? We hardly know anything about Ginny aside from the fact that she wants to go to the store and she's happy because she was able to go. We don't know anything about her brother. We don't know anything about Ginny, really. We don't know anything about her mother. And we don't know anything about the setting or anything. We don't know what Ginny's life is like. We don't know anything. How much I want to elaborate will depend on how deep I want the story to be. Let me give an example. Ginny wants to go to the store. Ginny walks into the kitchen and Ginny sees her mom baking food. Ginny asks her mom if she can go to the store. Her mom says, "I'm busy right now. Go ask your older brother." Ginny walks to her older brother's room, knocks on the door. He says, "Come in." She goes in the room, sees her brother playing the game, asks him, "Brother, can we go to the store?" Her brother says, "Yeah, let's go." Grabs his keys off of his bed, and then he goes to the store with Ginny. As they drive to the store, Ginny looks out the window, and she sees neighbors walking their dogs, things like that. Like, with that information, I gave you so much to visualize, so much to see, so much for you to comprehend and understand. Depending on how much you wish to elaborate on things will determine how complex / deep you want your story to be, and also how important things are to your story. There's elaborating both directly and indirectly. The direct elaboration is you seeing it actually happening and you seeing it. Ginny walked into the kitchen and you seen her mother, or rather it was said that her mother was making food. that was stated. Her mother is making food, and therefore she said that I am busy right now. That's direct elaboration. Indirect elaboration could be, I don't know, you walk into the kitchen and you see on the counter there's a mug that says best dad. So then that implies that she has a father living there, or a father figure of some point living there, because there's a mug that says best dad. There's all sorts of things that you can add to a story that could give it foreshadowing, that could give it more, give characters more importance, etc., etc. It just all depends on how much you want to elaborate on things and how important it is to the story. Now, my last point is either really simple for some people or really hard for some people, and it's having a theme. Have something that people can connect to within the story, because it doesn't matter how sophisticated, how complex, how great, well written a story is. If no one understands it, then it's gonna be like trash, because no one can understand it. I'm not saying get your audience to understand every minor detail about your story, because I feel like there's going to be certain things that they are going to miss, and that if they decide to reread your story, they could go back and they can see, kind of like an Easter egg. But I'm saying have something that your audience can connect to. Have something that draws them in, that keeps them coming back, whether it be a character, or whether it be the plot, or whether it be whatever it is. But have something that your reader could look at your story and say, oh yeah, I want to see more of this. Or yeah, I relate to this. Whatever it is. But that's pretty much it for my tips for now. And that's it. I love y'all. Be safe.